Hi everyone, my name is Evan. I'm an amateur woodworker trying to organize a garage. My wife and I currently live in a one-bedroom, one-bathroom condo in New Jersey. We have the luxury of having a one-car garage outside of that condo. The big issue right now I have, my garage is a complete mess. It gets really, really cold in here and it's not well insulated in the winter, so I usually don't work all winter. Things just kind of get piled up and forgotten about until springtime rolls around. What I'm dealing with is a bit of just I don't even know how to describe it. It's just a pile of all the stuff I've accumulated. I have a very bad habit of buying fun tools and everything that honestly they can't fit here. It's a one-car garage. What I'm doing is I'm taking apart some of the bigger things and making a whole bunch of little smaller things. As you can see, I have this here. It's a miter saw station with that miter saw, but I've been taking that apart in this video and you'll see that. That pegboard used to be on that wall, as well as that workbench in the corner. What I'm going to be doing is just kind of taking you guys along with me while I try to clean up, I guess. Everything in here is going to be on carts eventually. For instance, a miter saw, instead of being on the floor all alone down there, it's going to be on its own little rolly cart. I have bigger casters for the outfeed table and workbench that I'm going to build for the table saw, and then some slightly smaller casters for all of the rest of the tools that I have. Miter saw and air compressor on one, another one for my planer. Planer is actually going to be with the drill press and bandsaw on top of it, so I can kind of consolidate 3 tools onto one cart. I also have a whole bunch of random crap down here, including a scroll saw, and my little shop back there will be able to go right under the workbench. I have a small belt sander with a little 6-inch radial disc on it, as well as a grinder, like a low-speed bench grinder. A few of those things on the same cart. We're gonna see how it all works out. If I have to move anything around, we can do that. So this video is only gonna be basically cleaning up, and so my plan is to take this left side of my miter saw station. It is 8 feet long, and we're gonna put it on the wall. So you'll probably see that in this video, but I think after that I probably won't have much time to fit anything else. I'll probably split this up into, I don't even know, a whole bunch of videos. This is my first YouTube video, so we're just gonna kind of play it by ear. I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and everything, and we'll see you guys later.
Alright, so we're going to start off with a quick pan around of this dump that I call garage, just to kind of give you an idea of what I'll be dealing with over these next couple episodes. As you can see, it is jam-packed tight up to the door of stuff. This is the only little pathway that I have to walk through there currently. I made it a little wider in the video just to be able to kind of move around a little bit more. Those totes, these totes, I actually pushed over to the side like they are now, put the top on them, worked out pretty well. So this is the shelving that I had up to hold all of my glue and rags and brushes and finishing supplies. It was completely over-engineered and served its purpose, but it's time to go. This pegboard is probably, to say it gently, my most hated part of what I did to my garage. It doesn't work. It looks really cool having all your tools up there like that, but those little metal prongs and everything, they just fall out and things fall off of them. These little 1x3 supports that I put in were just to keep it off of the wall a little bit, just so those little stupid metal things could actually go into the pegboard. And here's what we're left with. Just a giant mess on a little 6-foot workstation there, and the right side of my miter saw setup. So in the process of cleaning all of this, I did wind up throwing a lot of junk away. There were broken things, there were scrap wood everywhere. There was just a lot of stuff that needed to go. All of these boxes and bags that you see are going to go onto the shelving unit once it's done, all the way up at the top. One of the most satisfying things is you can just see it there. When you're vacuuming sawdust and you've been cutting a bunch of different woods, especially high contrast woods, for instance, in there you saw probably plywood, oak, maple, and walnut. And the most obvious of those is the walnut versus all of that. Seeing the different layers is so cool. So the way that I evened this miter saw out on this was a little over-engineered, as you can probably tell. Held up really well though. PVC pipe support for the win. How not to get hit in the back of the head with a piece of falling plywood. $10 points for head placement right in front of the camera. Alright, so now I'm cutting down what will be the French cleat for this whole monstrosity, as well as that little offcut is going to be the bottom strip to keep the bottom of the shelving unit pushed away from the wall the same distance that the French cleat will. These couple of strips are going to be the stringers going across the whole thing, which I'm cutting down on the miter saw to length with my arm right in front of the camera. I promise I'll get better at that. So I decided to cut down the size of the pieces that I already had. I didn't want 24-inch depth between the front of this and the wall. I thought that was a little too much for strength's sake, but also I'm only 5'4", and I didn't want to get on a step stool every time I had to reach for something in there. And you're bound to run into problems when you use a cell phone and a silicone gun as a tripod to film your YouTube videos. It just got a little loose and decided it didn't want to support the phone. So cutting all these pieces down, my final dimensions are going to be just shy of 8 feet long, which you'll see a bit further. I have to take a little bit off of the circular saw. And the depth is going to be 18 inches. I do plan on adding doors to this eventually, I just didn't really have the time to get to it in this video. And it's pocket hole time. Lots and lots of pocket holes. So you might notice that this is the Craig jig for pocket holes. This is the K4 Craig jig. I put the little fly wings on it because I liked the K5, but I'm too poor to buy one myself. Assembly was made pretty easy. You just clamp it up at 90 degrees and screw in. The clamps definitely help with assembly. With pocket holes, when you go to screw them in, there's a good chance if it's not clamped or held tightly that it's gonna shift on you. And rinse and repeat. And after I got all of the sides screwed into the bottom, I started with running the stringers down the whole back side of it. All these stringers are just 3 inches tall, and they each have 2 pocket holes on either side of them. I paid extra close attention to these while I was putting them together to make sure that they were very flush to the back of the inner supports. when I run the French cleat, it's going to be across the whole back of this, so I wanted to make sure that it wasn't being pushed out by the center or having any gaps where it would be bowing in and out. That would give it a pretty poor connection to the cleat that's on the wall. And then it's time to throw the top on there with that beautiful noise. I love how plywood can screech. Again, using the parallel clamps, I'm just clamping this down and making sure it's nice and flush with the back before screwing anything in. So you can definitely see the hangover I was talking about a little bit earlier. When I first made these cabinets, I had the toe kick at the bottom, which had to extend all the way at the bottom. So the board that I had running the whole length, acting as the bottom, was a bit shorter than 8 feet. And then the top panel was 8 feet. So, little trim and never hurt anyone. Here is the French cleat itself. I put a couple of F-clamps there to hold it up for me. It's an 8-foot long board, and I am short to begin with, so my arm span doesn't really help me out. After that, it was just a matter of clamping it, making sure everything was even, and I pre-drilled and countersunk some holes for these screws. The reason the countersink is very important here is for the screw heads to go all the way into the plywood and not be sticking out the back. Otherwise, they'd be trying to push into the drywall, and the French cleat wouldn't seat properly. And now I'm clamping on that little bottom piece. You can kind of see what I was talking about here a little better, which if you're familiar with French cleats at all, you're probably familiar with this little bit going on. These cabinets are pretty heavy, so if I were to just put them on with the French cleat itself, when they hang, the bottom would try to sag toward the wall and they wouldn't hang flat. So by putting this little support there, it pushes the bottom off of the wall at the same distance of the top cleat, and you get everything nice and even. So here I'm going to start measuring out from the ceiling where I need to place my cleat on the wall. I made sure to take into account some space that I'll need to put all those empty boxes on top of the cabinets.
Alright guys, check this out. So I saw this online and I wasn't really sure if it was going to work, but I decided to give it a try because my stud finder was not cooperating with me at all. So apparently you can find your studs with magnets. Look at that. They're strong enough to go to the screw that's in the stud already holding it up. That's awesome.
And now I'm just making sure that that cleat is level so gravity doesn't come back to haunt us in the long run. What I did to hold the cleat up here was put a couple of screws into the drywall itself and just rested the cleat on top, and then I was able to move those screws up and down on either side to make sure that the cleat was level before screwing it into the stud.
Want me to try and hang from it, see if it's sturdy?
Huh?
I said, do you want me to try and hang from it and see if it's sturdy? Damn, I've never seen you do a pull-up.
You got everything? Okay. Yeah. Yep.
A little more, a little more, a little more. Right down, just slide it down. Woo!
Yeah.
That is awesome.
That was easier than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
Is it hanging?
Yeah, I left it longer.
Oh, okay.
So we got clearance.
Cool. Yeah. Both sides?
Yeah.
Nice.
Equal?
No, it was an eagle, so we shifted it a little bit. That was my neighbor Rob, as well as my wife Liz. It always helps to have a couple extra hands when you're trying to lift something that weighs probably just as much as you over your head onto the wall. And then, with the help of a little bit of movie magic, we have completed it.
Alright, check it out. Check it out. Looks so good all filled up, right? Oh, I'm so happy with it. So now that that's done, the next part I'm going to be working on is going to be the right side of that miter station. I have a piece of pegboard hanging right there right now, but it's all emptied off. You probably saw how messy it was at some point. The camera was probably aimed at it. All of that mess is gone. I cleaned it off. I'm not going to show this part. I'm going to do exactly what I did with these shelves here. I'm going to take it apart, cut it down a little bit in size, and then French cleat it right next to that door. As you can see, I have floor in this garage. All right, so that's all. Like I said, I'll do that one off camera. If I do anything different with it, I'll film that and I'll put it into whatever next video I do. After I finish that one, I'm gonna be working on carts for all the other tools. Some of them are gonna have storage integrated in them, mainly the lathe station that I'll make. That'll definitely have some storage in it. I appreciate you guys watching the video, and I will see you next time.